Welcome to the Wise and Happy Life podcast, where ancient wisdom meets modern science, and mindfulness, philosophy, and happiness practices blend with neuroscience, compassion, and common sense. Hosted by Bob Martin, meditation mentor, happiness coach, trial lawyer, and entrepreneur. This podcast explores how to live with grace, presence, and purpose in a complex world.
Hey, hello, good people, and welcome to another episode of A Wise and Happy Life. And I'm hoping that you have a wise and happy life. And as you know, I always like to start off every episode with a little story or something that kind of sets the stage, sets the theme for our guest. And I just want to say that, I have been teaching meditation, for many, many years now. And it's a funny thing about teaching meditation. There's not a lot of people who want to have a guru or a teacher, so to speak. Most of the folks move and go towards an app, and that's fine, and it's great. But there's some wonderful things happening in the world of artificial intelligence that really is creating a whole new world for being able to learn things through apps. And today we have a guest, Allen Imbarrato, who has created a wonderful, wonderful app for learning meditation and de-stressing called Keyflow. And he's going to tell us about that. But more than that, he's also going to let us know that he spent 30 years in an ashram. He's got decades teaching meditation, and he's a techie. I don't know how you figure you put your right and left brain together and came up with all those skills as a combination, but good for you. So Allen, with that little introduction, say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into talking about the app, which I'm just excited to hear about.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Bob. I
Sure.
appreciate being on a podcast called Wise and Happy Life, because that's what my app is really all about. Is, naturally, if we just are our true self, we are wise and happy. But unfortunately, we've got interfered with, and that's gotten covered up. So I've spent my life, I've been doing meditation now for over 50 years. It's not 30 years, it's 10 years in an ashram. But
Sorry.
I had a guru from India who taught me a meditation and opened me up in my 20s to a very powerful, infinite possibility that exists inside each human being, that we can tap into a very expansive and energy, which some people call source, some people call it God, some people have different names for it, but it's just who we really truly are. Okay. But unfortunately, we don't really understand our true identity because we get wrapped up in creating all these other personas to survive in society. So what I've learned is perhaps a way to make that journey from our false self to our true self.
So, Alan, I want to unpack something that you just said, but before we get into the app, this idea of our true self. I remember John Kabat-Zinn once said, he's the generator of the mindfulness-based stress reduction program that is in many hospitals. But he once said, so often we think that we are our thoughts. And then when we find out that we are not our thoughts, we discover that we are so much larger than our thoughts. And I want to unpack that with you for just a moment, because, it kind of begs the question of whether this authentic self, this real self that you just mentioned, is that something that, is encased inside of this sack of skin? Or is it an intelligence that you feel we tap into when we can kind of let go of some of those personas that you mentioned? I'm just wondering what you think about that. It's kind of, one of the most basic, I suppose, spiritual questions.
Well, we are called human beings, okay?
Uh-huh.
but most of us think of ourselves as human doings. We're doers and we're thinkers, but we don't really spend much time being the being. Okay,
Hmm.
that beingness is a state that is very expansive, that doesn't have any really boundaries, and it is our natural place. When we're calm and we're centered, we're in that most creative, energized space. And there's this creative intelligence. Some people call it the quantum field. Scientists call it the quantum field. Okay,
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, we've heard of this.
people tap into it in different ways. Einstein was really into this also, and different people have called it different things. But it's very accessible uh, inside your breath. Breath means spirit. Okay, so when you use your breath to tap into this energy that already exists, you don't have to create the energy. The energy is already there, but we're disconnected from it.
Hmm.
So, in terms of unpacking what you were saying, the issue is not that we have to make something happen, is we have to learn how to be with what already is there.
Hmm. And so that's something internal that we disconnect from, and then we reconnect through various methods. Yes.
Well, we have these three brains. I don't know if you're familiar with the triune brain, but we have the reptilian brain,
Yep.
the mammalian brain, and the neocortex. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
But what makes us distinct is we've evolved that higher brain. But when we're just in the lower brain, we're in survival,
Right.
and that's where the stress response system comes in to protect us and to fight, flight, and freeze. So the main job of the lower brains is to protect us, to keep us safe. But the main job of the higher brain is to bring that wisdom that you're talking about, is that
Hmm.
intelligence. And
Hmm.
that's a natural, innate intelligence that we all have that makes us all equal to have that a possibility. But unfortunately, we all get programmed, and these programs, I call them survival programs, distract us and make us focused on the external rather than the internal.
Hmm.
So we begin to think that all that exists is outside of us, and we don't develop and nurture our inner life, our inner experience, and open up that inner landscape. So that's
Is
what meditation does.
is is do can most of us kind of understand that through listening? Sometimes I might think of it as our intuition, like we think of it as something which gives us some guidance in a nonverbal way that we think of like a hunch. Is that kind of this
It's
internal?
the intelligence speaking coming through us. It's like
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
that's what intuit means, is into it.
Oh, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That we have this core intelligence. Like I used to work with a guy named Tim Galloway who did the inner game of tennis, inner game of golf, and it talked about self one and self two. And self one is that fear that interferes. And so he developed this program to teach tennis to tap you into your higher self, self two, we called it, through awareness exercises. So we would go out into the tennis court. We did this at AT&T. We'd take people out onto the tennis court and teach them how to play tennis in 20 minutes by giving them awareness exercises of just learning to watch the ball, say bounce when it bounces, hit when it hits, and take them off the fear. But most of us are in fear and worry most of the time. Most of our thoughts are being generated by those survival part of our brain to protect us, to defend us. And we have all these different strategies. We call them survival strategies as a way of preventing us from getting hurt. Usually, this system, millions of years ago, was designed to keep us from physical threats, lions, bears, and so forth, and
Hmm.
just to, eat and protect us from various physical environments. But most of the time now, we're dealing with social threats, with
Mm.
deadlines, with finances, with bosses, with judgments, with social media, that we never feel safe anymore, particularly uh, in environments where there's a lot of political things going on these days. A lot of people just don't feel safe.
Right,
at
right.
all because there's all these threats. So when you're being threatened, you're not in that natural state. You're in that protective state. And so that keeps you in this loop of anxiety and worry and overwhelm because you've got to survive.
Hmm.
But if you understand who you really are, you don't have to survive because there's, it's who you were before you were born. It's who you are going to be after you're died. But in between, we have this opportunity to experience life from the same place of who we truly are, that we were always.
So let me just continue on with what you were saying, this fear state that we find ourselves in because of all of these chronic, unidentifiable, well, they're identifiable, but they're chronic and they're vague threats, these societal threats that we're in, is one. A lot of the folks that I speak to, they say that, the committee in my head is always telling me that I'm not good enough, that I'm not smart enough, that like that. Do you think that those kinds of thoughts are being generated by this fear-based sense of stress as a way of disconnecting from society, or not venturing out, or not risking to protect ourselves, and that that's a function really of our fear and our stress?
Yes, like
Yes.
that's what
I
our
love.
app does.
Thank you for a good straight answer. I loved it. Good.
So our app
Yes.
takes you through
Hmm.
a mindfulness process of
Uh-huh.
noticing your thoughts,
Right.
noticing what is the underlying fear that just got triggered that made you feel unsafe.
Uh-huh.
What was the belief that was feeding that fear? So if you have a fear that people don't, if you have a belief that people don't like me, then you're always your radar. It's like a smoke alarm in your brain. I call it. It comes from the
Okay.
amygdala. Okay, the
Okay.
amygdala is like always on guard for a danger. But
Uh-huh.
the problem is that a normal smoke alarm will turn on when it actually feels smoke. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but this amygdala is always scanning, and it doesn't turn off. It just like is always scanning for the threat. Who's going to judge me? Who's going to make me wrong? Who's going to try to control me? Who's going to disapprove of me? So these threats are all about approval and control.
Yeah.
So
And in the jungle, that scanning worked,
right.
because you're scanning, you don't see anything but bushes and berries, and then you see a snake or a tiger, boom, you got it. But here, where it's so, like you say, there's so
Yeah.
many societal threats, and they're not identifiable, or as readily unidentified. You keep scanning and scanning and scanning, and I'm sorry, but yeah, I get it. Go ahead.
So it's like my dog is a guard dog. Okay, and his job, he's been trained in his system to guard us. So a UPS man comes, and his job is to alert us. Oh my God, there's a potential danger. It's a UPS man. But then he calms down after the UPS. But the problem is the stress response system inside of us doesn't calm down. It doesn't go back to our calm, natural being state. It stays on alert.
Mm-hmm.
And stress builds up and becomes chronic stress. And chronic stress builds and creates inflammation and releases cortisol, and creates inflammation in your system. And so that we become so familiar with these reactions going on inside of us, these chemicals, we become addicted to them. We think that's our natural state, to have the
Yeah, yeah,
rise and the fall of fight, flight, freeze. And we
yeah.
think that's who we are.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because there is this lady that I know, and her level of stress is pretty high. And I say that because her startle response is like off the scales. I mean, if she's walking along the street and you shout out to her, she nearly jumps out of her skin. So her startle response is very high. She's always active. She always has something to do. Her memory and remembrance, she doesn't listen much because her internal voice is going so fast. So those are all the things that help me to know this person is really highly stressed. But if you ask her, do you think that you're a stressful person? She would say, no, not at all. No. So her stress level is up so high, but it's become her normal. And she doesn't even recognize the fact that, that cortisol, which is rotting her nervous system and everything's just flowing through her body. I kind of feel for her. And that's what you developed your app for.
Yeah, that's the first step in the app,
Okay.
is to get out of denial. We have a 4-step process we call the stress resilient 4F process: facing, focusing, freeing, and flowing. So
Say it again. Say it again.
first you face your stress, you get out of denial. Yes, I'm stressed.
Facing.
I just got triggered. Okay.
Okay.
Something just went off subconsciously. I start to feel tight in my chest. My jaw starts tight. My neck starts tightening. I have sweaty palms.
Right.
You
Right.
know, you notice, oh, I just got triggered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Step one is facing. Then the inquiry that starts with the mindfulness of noticing your sensations. Then what are the emotions that you're experiencing? Is this person getting angry? Are you triggered? Are you irritated? Are you frustrated? Are you worried? Are you afraid? Are you sad? Are you All these emotions are going on. And then what are the thoughts that are triggering those emotions? Are usually those judgments, like you were saying. I'm not enough of something, or I'm too much of something, or there's something wrong with me. And then once you identify the fear, usually there's the four basic fears are part of these, what I call these stress programs, that are based on these survival strategies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So the app
So,
marches you to identify what is the underlying fear that got triggered, what is the core limiting belief that's generating your fear, and what is the survival strategy that's keeping that belief and that fear going.
so say the 4 F's again.
First you face,
Face,
then you focus to find the trigger,
focus. Mm-hmm.
then you free yourself and you create a new belief. You move from a survival strategy to a growth strategy.
Right.
There's
Face,
four:
focus,
free.
free.
And once you change your mindset, then you take inspired action in flow.
Wow. Great. So, most of the time, we think that this kind of a process is something that you would go to a therapist for or spend years of meditations. How did you pack this into an app and how are you finding it?
Well, our first version of the app sort of took people screen by screen through the 4 steps. But now we've created an AI mindfulness coach that
Mm-hmm.
understands and personalizes very much. It finds out, what kind of a user are you? Are you a CEO? Are you a professional? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a laborer? Are you retired? Are you a student? And what is your level of mindfulness experience? Are you a beginner? Are you middle? Are you advanced? What is your stress level currently? Are you starting? And is your stress just personal stress, or is it family stress? Is it work, team stress? So it uses these 4 variables to create a very personalized, anonymous chat with you, but it gets to know you. It gets to know you in a very gentle, warm, in compassionate way. So you have a conversation. We call him Kifu. Kifu is the AI mentor name. Okay.
Okay.
So Kifu,
And say what key means.
Ki means life energy, life force, awareness, basically. Ki means awareness.
And what the Chinese call qi and the yogis call prana.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a self-awareness process that is being prompted and moves you through in a sequential way to have a breakthrough and you have an insight. So the whole idea of the app is to create very personalized insights so you know yourself more. So that basically, once you make these shifts and you create a new empowering belief to replace your limiting belief. So instead of saying I'm not enough, you say I am enough. Instead of saying I'm not good enough, you are good enough. People do like me, or I am worthy. These things are bottom feeders in our subconscious, and
Uh-huh.
just like go off all the time. What do you mean? You don't like me, or why did you say that? Are you trying to control me? Are you trying to put me down? Those things just go off because we think we have to protect ourselves because we think that's who we are. But if you know who you really are, you say, "Oh, that's his problem, or that's her problem." That lady that you're talking about, you don't take it personally. It's like, "Oh my God, what have I done? I've triggered this woman." No, that's her mindset. But when you own your mindset and you see, that gives you your power back, because most of these things are pre-programmed survival programs in childhood that we develop to survive. Childhood is a very scary experience because we don't know who we are. So we get all our identity from getting approval of being a good boy or a good girl or being right or avoiding being wrong. So these are the four strategies: be right, look good, avoid being blamed, and play it safe. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
the app helps you identify which one of those is active. Usually there's more than one. So you start off and you tell it your stress story. This happened to me today. Like I had to abort my vacation last week because my dog got sick. So here I was uh, on vacation. And the dog sitter calls up and just says, my dog is freaking out because we're gone and he's missing us. So that became an opportunity for me to practice what I preach. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was very stressful because it was taking me out of my situation, and I was no longer free to do what I thought I was going to do, or I had a whole plan worked up. But when I realized that, I care more about my dog and I have to take care of my dog, and I'm going to be okay either way. I'm fine, because I know when I go into meditation, I have that center, that peaceful place, and I can be on vacation just by doing meditation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, it was a way to calm me down and get rid of my belief. Oh my God, my vacation's being ruined. This is my big chance, and all those fears of that I my mind was going off on. Do I
Right.
believe
Right.
that?
Right.
So that's the
Mm-hmm.
that's the third step, is questioning, how much do you believe this belief is true? Do I really believe? Because most of these beliefs got installed and pre-programmed before we had a chance to discriminate. So this is a chance to reparent yourself or reprogram yourself and take charge of what you want to believe about yourself, and completely reverse all these beliefs so you no longer are going to be triggered by them. So it's a way of erasing all these stress triggers by going through this app process.
I get you. So I have two questions. The first one is, um, again, we've been talking about who you really are. And for someone who doesn't have a clue who I really am, it's funny. I just had a guest on yesterday, and before we started, I asked her, "How would you like to be introduced?" And she said, "Well, you've seen my credentials." And I said, "Nah, I don't want to. Who are you really? Who are you really?" And she goes, "Wow, nobody's ever asked me that. I don't know." But then she thought about it, and finally she said, "Well, I'm somebody who really loves life, and I like to surf." So,
Great.
okay, great. That's your introduction. There we go.
Yeah.
We got a good introduction
Uh-huh.
because that's who she is, on some level. But reason I mentioned that is that many of us are stymied by that question, not even on a metaphorical level, just simply on a pedantic kind of like, who are you in life? I'm a father and the like. So this other piece, this other who you really are, this almost this connected, large, expansive who you really are. Some don't have a clue what that means, and it sounds like a bunch of woo woo woo. So the question that I want to ask you is, you know, um, what can you point to where the average person can look at that and get a taste of this expansive being that they actually are. I mean, it's hard to have a goal if you don't have a clue what it looks like. So can you
That's a
think of
powerful
any?
question. Yes,
Huh?
it's a very powerful question. So every night people dream, right?
Right?
And you go into a dream and you go into this whole other world. And when you're in that dream, it seems very real, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you sometimes you can get very excited in a dream and have a lot of great experiences. Sometimes it can be a nightmare or a horrible experience. But when you wake up and you come out of that dream, you know that that wasn't real. Okay, it's like it's not even a question. You can't even remember it. It just went away.
Right.
Same way about this. Now that we're here, there's another level to awaken and understand this is an illusion also. And you've had many people have had very much glimpses in their life, and if they really remember, they've had insights and the intuition, or they've been guided, or they've been given. Some people, when I was growing up, people were taking LSD or various psychedelic experiences, which completely opened up that illusion and that reality. Other people have peak experiences, like in sports, where you just get into this flow or this altered state, and you experience yourself optimized to just perform in a way that you haven't performed, or creativity. You do some art or some painting, and something just flows through you. I mean, it's always there, but we're not acknowledging it. We're not present with it. I mean, it's as far away as your breath. Okay. I mean, if you just really go deep into your breath and just keep letting go into your breath, you'll tap into it.
No, I love the idea of that optimized moment, that peak moment. I think that we've all had that experience of being in flow, where we even surprised ourselves afterwards that we were able to do as much as we did. Or a basketball player who just can't miss, and he comes off the thing and says, "You had a great game," and he says, "It didn't even feel like it was me out there."
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, it
exactly.
didn't even feel like it was me out there.
That's a
And
great example.
also, I, what I'm beginning to hear is this sense of this taste of who we really are. It comes when we kind of lose ourselves, huh? Like when we're in the middle of a fantastic sunset or sunrise or something, and we don't even feel like we're there. We're part of the sunset. I
Yeah,
think we've all experienced that. Is that what we're talking about this expansive self, this connected
it's the
self?
glimpses. It's the
It's
indecision.
glimpses,
You
huh?
know, it's like when you stop thinking. Okay,
Uh huh.
what,
Uh-huh.
who's the thinker? Okay, who's
Right.
who's doing the thinking? When you start identifying with that instead of the thoughts. I got to do this. I got to do that. I want to make sure that this gets done. It's like something's driving that. Who's driving the thinking that says I have to do that? Who's
Mm-hmm.
decided that's the priority? Who's
Mm-hmm.
choosing to do that over something else?
So
So it's
yeah,
owning who the chooser is.
right.
Who's making these decisions? That's
Now
the
when
beingness.
now we've both taught meditation, so this will sound like normal, like regular to you, I'm sure. But when I work with my students, the first thing that I'm trying to do is free them up from the idea that they are their thoughts. And, in language, in our regular everyday language, we always say, "Oh, I had a thought." So it's funny that in our language, we recognize that we're not our thoughts, yet in our living every day, we feel that we are inside of our thoughts and we're living our thoughts. But I will say to my students, just once you can get it that you are not your thoughts, then you understand that you're the creator of your thoughts. Now, that creator of your thoughts is what we're talking about as this expansive self, but at the same time, that expansive self can be covered up, I think you used the word, by all of the cultural influences. And so even though I may be the creator of my thought, I may be creating corrupted thoughts, just like corrupt data is creating corrupt thoughts. And what your app is doing then, I guess, by going through this process, is helping us identify the corruption and cleaning it up.
I have a video that we do. It
Uh-huh.
says we're operating in an old Stone Age built operating system. It's like we're all in an old DOS operating system.
Uh-huh.
And now, you keep interpreting your whole reality through that operating system. But now, if I don't know if you remember floppy disks. That was like a
Yes, I
whole
do.
world, little floppy
I'm old
disk.
enough. I am old enough to remember not only floppy disks, but I remember 8-inch floppy disks.
Right. Yes. Okay. So now on my phone, I have 256 gigabytes or something like that.
Uh-huh.
It's a whole other level, a whole other operating system, which you can do so many things just on a phone rather than these big mainframe computers. Okay. That's
Oh, yeah.
what we're talking about is that when you move from your survival brain into your higher brain, your higher intelligence, you access and tap into all that creativity. So it's like the data that comes from your lower brain is all based on protecting yourself. Whereas the data that comes from your higher brain is all about creating possibilities. So
Uh-huh.
it's like moving from protection to possibility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is the philosophy, this is the thinking which came from your years of meditating, that you built into the app to bring you through a process where you can begin to identify what are the thoughts coming from the lower brain, what are the thoughts coming from the upper brain, and giving you some access to choosing between which thoughts you want to accept and which ones are helpful and which ones may not be so helpful. Am I getting it right?
You're getting it right. That's the whole idea is to become conscious. It's called
Mm-hmm.
conscious breathing, conscious choosing to become intentional. If you're not consciously intending, you're just rewriting and rerunning all the programs. So if you have like a favorite TV program, um, and like Friends or Seinfeld or
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you maybe you like watching it over and over again, okay, because it once was funny, but after a while, it's like I know what's going to happen. I've been down this road. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
that episode. Okay, so you want something new and fresh. So you have to like that's the stage from focusing to freeing is let go of the old program, let go of the old movie, and take charge of your thoughts and really design your thoughts, become the designer of your thoughts and your reality. That's the empowerment. That's where you become in touch with your true self and you become empowered when you take ownership of your true self.
Now, let's be fair, and not mislead folks thinking that it's all a magic wand. It is a process, and it does require practice. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah,
It's not.
it's
You're
a
not going to
daily
go one
practice.
time through it and
Every
all of a
day,
sudden be every
every
day.
day
Go
I
ahead.
sit down for an hour or two to meditate. Okay. Every
Uh-huh.
day I've got the old survival brain chatting away and I have to like, okay, calm it down. And then I can go through the tunnel or through the breakthrough into the other realm. But yes, even though I've meditated for 50 years, I still have that old brain and I still have to let go and go into the higher brain.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just a function of what is. But what I'm asking is, with the app itself, not meditating.
okay,
The
yes.
app itself, it's still going to be a process, and you still have to use it and use it, regularly. It's not going to be like a magic wand where you just
Oh,
pick
yeah.
up the app and all of a sudden you're transformed. I mean, it's being real, right?
No, that's an excellent point. We really are looking for people who are interested in a daily practice of
Right.
transforming their stress. We're not just about stress relief, which is just a one-time thing. Like, you can get relief from taking a pill, from taking a food. From going out into a jog, you can get relief and change the sensation in your body. But if you're really committed to self mastery or knowing yourself, every day you can learn from your stress. Your stress is like a radar system. If you're going down the road in a car and you trail off, the sensors in your car go off to get back into your lane. So
Mm-hmm.
if you learn that your stress reactions are an opportunity to grow stronger mentally, to discover what your hidden trigger, what just triggered me? Why did all of a sudden I my get brain fog? Why did all of a sudden get confused? Why all of a sudden did my body become tense? Something got triggered. Get interested, become curious. Okay, let me
Curious.
let me just find out. Let me learn about myself. But most people are afraid, oh my God, I'm going to run into a judgment. I don't want to go inside because I'm going to find out all the things I hate about myself. But
Mm-hmm.
no, those are opportunities to unwind yourself from that and not take it personally. Like there's this book, Four Agreements. One of the four agreements is don't take things personally. Okay. I don't know if you know that book, but it was one of
Yeah,
my
yeah,
favorites.
yeah. Hmm. One of the great metaphors or examples that I always like about the process of transformation is tree pose. You studied yoga. Tree pose.
Yeah,
You're standing
I'm not
on one
very good
foot,
at
and
I'm not very
no, I'm
good.
not. But for those people that start, your balance is all over the place. You're falling to the left, you're falling to the right. You have to put your foot down. You have to retake it. Maybe you last a second, maybe two. But then as you practice, the the degree of off balance begins to narrow.
Yes,
And
yeah,
then finally, somebody that has practiced enough, you think that they're looking like they're steady like a tree. But if you look at their foot, you can see that it's out of balance, rebalancing, out of balance, rebalancing, and it's this constant little adjustments.
hmm,
And now they're able to stand in that tree pose, and the only adjustments they have to make are very slight, and they don't interfere. Whereas when the balance was way off, you were falling and had to make big adjustments. And I think that kind of like sums up the process. I think, right?
that's a
That
great analogy.
in
Yes,
the beginning you're making big discoveries, and as you get more skilled, you begin to get more subtle and more subtle discoveries and refine them more and more until all of a sudden the magic happens, right?
yeah. Yeah, if you're committed to the journey, there really is no balance point. It's like an airplane flying from LA to New York is always making adjustments subtly based on its feedback it's getting from the ground. But if it's off 1 degree, it will end up in Boston or DC instead of New York. So our stress response system is always giving us feedback to make those adjustments. So if you nip it in the bud by just being willing to face your stress, that's the first thing. Is like get interested in it. Then
Hmm.
those are the tiny adjustments that can keep you. But if you don't pay attention, you get into chronic stress and you just lose your energy. You become eventually burnt out and eventually sick because of all the stress hormones that are being secreted constantly. So it's like a way. That's why we call it the stress resilience 4F process. It's all about learning the skill of stress resilience. It's not that you're not going to get stressed. Yes, I still get stressed, but I have the skill of being resilient of how to get back to that calm place.
Right. Well, what I often describe that as you can't avoid discomfort, but you can raise your tolerance for discomfort. And so it doesn't interfere with your life as much when you have the skill of tolerating it. So if you're strong, I often think of like if in a perhaps a physical confrontation, if my body is strong and I feel confident in my physical strength, if a bully comes up to me and is confrontational, I'm much less stressful than I would be if I felt weak. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying I want to get into a fight, but the sensation I have of being able to handle the situation is increased because of my greater strength. And I think that we can also develop strength of mind. And I am so appreciative of the years and years of training and work that you put into the meditation, and the years that you put into developing the app, because I'm sure that it's going to make a big difference for a lot of folks.
Yeah, mental strength is key. People are having all sorts of issues with mental health. So if you go to a gym, you have an intent. I want to get stronger in my upper body. I want to build muscle, or I want to build endurance. I want to build my capacity to handle things a little bit more. So you are working on the bike, or you do the treadmill or something like that. So we need that same kind of interest in developing our mental strength.
Yes.
And so this app is a way of like going to the mental gym,
I love that. Yeah.
and you see your stress as your teacher rather than your enemy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you see it as an opportunity to grow stronger, because stress is the weakness. Somehow something hit you and you had a big reaction to it. It's like that. I play a lot of pickleball, and that's what I love about pickleball is it goes so fast and you just like react. But it's like when I do something, I notice all of a sudden, I got triggered in the middle of it. I got something triggered me. So the more I just notice that, I come back later and I notice, what went off, and it's like the next time, it's like I'm stronger. I can play a stronger game because that thing doesn't trigger me anymore.
Right, right. And one of my teachers, I used to love it because he said this so often, Saki Santorelli, who was John Kabat-Zinn's partner. He would say often, yeah, so you notice it. And, maybe you'll change the next time, or the next time, or the next time, or the next time, or the next time. He never just said, or the next time. He always said it 5 or 6 times, always reminding us that it's a process and you might not remember it the next time, but maybe you will the next time or the next time. Alan, it's been a real pleasure to have you on. All of the links to your app and your website. But if there's any particular thing that you'd like the people to know right now, as far as having to get in touch with you or get a hold of the app, you can mention your website.
Uh, it's right here, keyflow.app.
Uh huh.
And it has the links to the Google Store and the Apple Store, or you can go directly into each of the app stores and download it and develop a deeper relationship. It's safe, it's anonymous, it's personalized. Anytime, anywhere, you can engage with it. You don't have to. I mean, it's not to replace a therapist. But you don't have to wait to go to your therapist to have a breakthrough, to have an insight, to get stronger.
Not only that, since you do mention therapists, it is not therapy, but it does turbocharge therapy, because therapy is about working with your thoughts. And this is a skill to help you identify and notice your thinking so that you can be more awake and aware in your conversations with your therapist. So the combination of the skill and the therapy can often be very, very powerful. But
Yeah.
we're running out of time. I gotta
Okay.
say
All right.
thanks. I want to make a quick announcement, folks. I just want to let you know that I'm developing a new community for people that are living and want to live a wise and happy life. It'll have a lot of free resources on it, and it'll have a way to connect with other folks who are on the journey. But Alan, again, thank you so much. Thank you for your wisdom, and thank you for a life of service.
Thank you for having me. It's been great talking to you. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Take care. Hey, and everybody, be wise and be happy.